Hello and welcome to the second episode or next edition of H. Paul Models. Now, having built the Dornier, I need something to rein that nasty plane in. So I've got myself a Hawker Hurricane Mark 1. This is one of my favourite Airfix models, so I'm looking forward to building this. So let's crack on. I have built one of these Hurricanes before. You may remember the cold front Hurricane for Canadian Air Force. This one's back to Britain, so standard build, no modifications or anything other than of course an engine, which I will do later on in the build. So first thing is this little tidy tank piece on there, and watch this ping. Oh, it's gonna ping, you know it. It's gonna. Oh, nearly. Let's get me maulers on it, that might be easier. Oh, cripes. Oh dear. I think I've got it upside down, that's why it's not locating. There we go. Bit too much glue. Oh, dearie me. Oh dear. What a way to start the year, eh? There we go, that's finally on, I think. Oh, that's quite funny. Let's put that. Oh, come on. Like that. There we go. I mean, it's deep in the dells of the aircraft, so it's not drastically important. But... and then this bit goes along there. So hopefully that will go in without too much of a kerfuffle. He says, knowing full well it's going to be a kerfuffle. It is not the Airfix problem, it's mine. I'm just being a bit cack-handed today. There we go. That's in. Right, just make sure that seats properly. With models, I find it's very important to get these little bits right, because later on in the build, if you don't, it tends to make other bits not fit so well. So yeah, it's always important to make sure that your first few bits are the bits you want to make sure are spot on. There we go, that's on there. Parts A5 and C10. Which is no, it's not A5, it's A6. I've already done A5 to spare you the pain. Do you see what I mean about putting the bits in correctly as you go, because otherwise they wouldn't line up? So that's quite important to start off with, because if you were doing wheels down on this, which I'm not, but if you were, that could look a bit awkward when you lift it up to look at the underside of the model and nothing is aligned. So yeah, let's get that. So I am doing wheels up, but I still like to do it as it's good practice. So this piece next, which goes in that way. There we go. Get that in there. Oh, crikey. And now, and then just close those two bits up onto there, which I believe locate like that. Oh, cripes. Come on. In you go. That's it. There we go. This is a rather nice model by Airfix. I recommend this one for anyone who's just starting out. It's a lovely little model to start off with, definitely. Before I fix the top part of the wing on, I just wanted to drill out these gun holes, because once it's painted you tend to lose, I don't know about anybody else, but you tend to lose definition of the gun holes, so I'm just going to drill them out. And we'll get on with this, and then we'll put the top wing on. And then, as with all models I do, fill up the pots. A squirt around there. I'm going to offer it that way, so that I hope I don't get any fingerprints. There we go, that's together. and get my super duper hairdresser hair clips and just clamp that together. I like these because in there's a rubber band that grips the model really well, so unlike other clips they don't tend to ping off. That one's not going down so well. Why is that not clipping? There we go. Yeah, I'll just clamp it. I know there's other methods of clamping, but I like doing it this way. Yeah, just clamp that, and then when that's gone off, you carry on with the fuselage, cockpit bits and whatnot. Right, before I do anything else, I've got to think about fitting the motor really. So I'm going to measure the diameter of this motor, 3.7 millimeters. And get my grinding tool and measure that, 3.6 on the outside of it, 3.6 mil. So I'm thinking this might be able to drill that out. So I'll leave it on the sprue, and I'm going to use my Dremel type Herzo, what you'll call it, tool to create the hole for the motor. Hopefully, if I get it in square enough, I need a little bit of super glue around the outside to hold the motor in place. So I'm going to get on with that, and then we'll see where we are. Well, it's in. So I'm going to fix that inside the fuselage now before I put the halves together. Sort of makes sense. Right, the motor's in its collar. I had a little bit of an accident, but nothing that the filler won't sort out. So now I'm going to make sure the motor stays where it's put. So good old Humbrol filler. Give that a squidge. That's probably a bit too much, but never mind. And then Humbrol. Oh, if I can get it out of the box. Oh, come here. Poly cement. Just a little squidge. You mix the two and it makes it into a really good paste. Now it's not as accurate as some of the fillers on the market, but it's definitely better than it is straight out of the tube. Now, mix it, as I said, get that mixed up. And that goes into a really nice paste to use, but it sets rock hard like the original Humbrol filler will. Now all I want to do is scoop some of that up and just drop it into there. This will hold the motor in place for when the fuselage halves are together. Oh, crikey. That's it. Let's put a bit in there. That'll hold it absolutely tight inside the model, so if there is such a thing as repeller torque, which I doubt, but if there is, it won't move the motor inside the model. That's all I want it to do. There we go. Just leave that, and I'll leave that a couple of hours now to dry. Bit of sanding here and there when it's gone off, and that will be as safe as houses. Okay, like the Dornier, I've got to figure out a way of having the Hurricane rolling into the attack, I suppose you could say. So again, with the plastic tube and looking at the Hurricane base of the wing, I think I want to hide the tube under this wing. Now I can't go anywhere here because that's going to be all of the undercarriage and whatnot. It may not be seen, but I don't want to butcher that. However, this square is looking very inviting, so I'm thinking of sinking the tube into that square. The wires can then tuck down that hole from the tube into the switches and batteries and whatnot, and I can have it at an angle. So I'm going to fashion myself a bit of an angle on this using that craft saw again. So by looking at this, I probably want to cut it around about there in a slope. So I'm going to try and just see if I can't cut this at an angle. Oh, don't worry, I'll speed this up. And the reason I'm doing it like this is because I haven't got the wing depth to sink that into. So with a little bit of fettling, I can now get that in there, and I've got a nice peeling angle, and from the side I can hide that tube. So the next course of action is to get my ever long suffering pencil and draw around that shape there. Like that. And then with my grinding tool just cut that out so I can slot the rod inside and fix it into place. I will do that bit off camera because that's going to be noisy and irritating, so I'll do that bit next. Then I'm going to cut a little tiny flat edge on that so the wires can bend in, come out from under the wing there, and then I can attach them to the motor. Cool. Okay, I've cut my hole in the bottom wing. I've threaded the cables through, and I've just put them through this hole to keep them there. I don't want them sliding to and fro. The tube's been shaped and sized, and so that will sit in there nicely like that. I shall secure it with some super glue, and then with my Humbrol filler and Humbrol glue make a nice little paste just to make sure it's perfectly secured. So that'll be my next job, and then while that's going off I can put the fuselage halves together, because the wire will be free to be soldered when I'm ready to put the wings onto the fuselage. I like these rods as well because once that's stuck fast it helps me do the painting. I've got something to grip it with. So I'll get on with all that, and then we'll carry on. Time to solder the wires to the wires for the diorama. This is so I can put the fuselage onto the wings, really. So, where did I put my Twitter? Oh, there they are. Shot, absolutely shot. Right. It doesn't matter about polarity at the moment, so I'll try and match these two up. Do what I did with the last build. Take the wire, wrap it round a couple of times, and then solder it on so it's got good mechanical strength. I've already tinned both sets of wires because I thought you probably didn't want to see me do that again. Oh, where'd the wire go? Oh my goodness. My eyes are getting awful. There we go. Put that round there like that. Cut that end off. Oh, don't break the control column. Come on. That's it. I've just come off the wire now. Oh my goodness. Come on. Oh, this really is going to be testing now, isn't it? Because it's on camera. tack that right now. Oh, that's hot. Let's just tack it on like that. Oh, it's come off again. A little bit of soda. Honestly, it doesn't always go like this. Sometimes it actually works well. Right. Way! Right. Shall I put you through the pain of the other one? Yeah, why not? I mean, you can always fast forward. Oh dear. This, I must admit, this is one of the reasons why I enjoy this hobby, because no two models are exactly the same, even though they're built to a mould and the instructions are the same, and it's just adding my little flair makes each model a little bit more interesting, I find. And that's why I build so many. It's because well, one, because I enjoy building models, and two, I like adding my own little flair. And of course, one of the reasons why I support Model for Heroes with this channel is because it helps my mental health, keeps me going. Yeah. No. Oh crikey, there we go, that's on. Marvellous. So they're both on. Now I've got to do, so I don't have to insulate them, is I'm going to tuck both wires under the body working now. Perhaps a stronger pair of tweezers would be better now. Yes, or a pair of pliers. So I'll tuck that one under there. That's a good thing about this varnished wire, is the fact that when you put it where you want it, it stays there, which is always good. So I'll put that down there like that, and then that one can lay down tidy there. And hopefully, if I've done this okay, the model should now slide together, he says. So the fuselage and wings are now together. I must admit, these Airfix models, these modern ones in this new greyer plastic, really go together well. They are, well, a lot better than when I was a lad. Anyway, I digress. Doing the tailplane now and then the rudder. So because it's the end of the plane, I always use a little bit of Humbrol poly cement. I know it's not the favourite of many, but it is one of mine for this sort of task, because it's quite stodgy, gloopy, and it grabs the part as soon as you put it into the model. So that's what I'm going to do. Looking at the instructions, that goes in that way. So we squidge it in. There we go. Get ourselves a cotton bud. Just clean off the excess before it sets, and then I'm going to make sure it's square with the wings and the rest of the model, like that. There we go. Now let's do the other one. I always try and cut parts off with a scalpel. Now I've found the cutters are leaving me either ripping bits off the model itself, or are leaving large, I could call them sprue tails, on the parts that you want to do. So I try and use my scalpel now as much as possible to make sure I don't get any damage to the surfaces I actually want to keep. So this part now goes into there, like that. And again, using the cotton bud, wipe off the excess. Make sure they're both pushed in and level. Right, I've finished with the main parts of the Hurricane. So tailplane's on, cockpit's on a mast. I've masked the motor stem so it doesn't get painted up, done the undercarriage, the oil radiator and whatnot. I said on the build of the Dornier I wasn't going to use my airbrush and primer anymore. It's too much cleaning. So I'm going to try some of this. I've seen it on other models channels. So yeah, I'm going to take this outside, give it a spray and see what it looks like. Well, yeah, I'm certainly impressed. It's done that really well. So I'm going to let that stand in that reel of wire to dry. I might go and have a bottle of Spitfire and warm up a bit because it's quite cold this evening in the shed. And then we'll look to painting it when I've got the fan heater on. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get some aluminium paint and just do some pre-spraying, painting, whatever you want to call it. All I'm going to do is lightly rub some aluminium around the edge of these panels. There is a reason why I'm doing this. It's because I like to think, well, from what I've read and what I've seen and everything else, the Battle of Britain ground crews were always busy refilling, rearming, getting these planes ready for the next combat. So these planes will show wear and tear. So I'm going to use the hairspray method and bring out some of these panel lines as aluminium once the main coat's on. So I'm going to paint this, then I'm going to varnish it, then I'm going to hairspray it, and then we'll start doing the main colours. And after the main colours are dried, we can then take a stifled brush and shave back to reveal the aluminium. Time for the wear and tear effects. You may remember I painted aluminium underneath the camo paint. Well, now I'm going to scrape some of that back off very, very carefully. Just work a short old brush, and the bristles I've cut back, and just very gently scrape away at that paint. This is a very, very gentle exercise. You don't need to go mental on it. If you go too hard, you'll take it back to the plastic and it won't work. It will look awful. So I'm just, you can see it start to come through, just working that. Around, I'll do the same with these bits. Just so the rage points. Just wet it with water and then just work it. This is a tip I picked up off of other YouTubers, so it's not my idea. I just think it looks really, really good. There we go, see it starting to come through as the water and brush works. There we go. Now I'm just going to get myself a cotton bud and just dry that off before the effect is too damaging. There we go, that's more than enough on that wing. You see, just a bit of wear and tear. There we go, that's all I want to do, nothing else, just that. So I do the other wing. Again, wet the brush, very important to wet the brush, and just scrape. There we go, it's coming off. Just roll that with a cotton bud to dry it up. There we go. Do the same with the ammunition. Port's just a little bit down the side here. I think I'll overdo it this time. There we go, and then just roll that. It just brings out wear and tear marks on the panels like that, which I think is quite good. Now I'm going to do the two handhold bits just underneath there. Where the pilot would climb in and out the cockpit, there's one. Do t'other. There we go. Just roll that off like that. There we go, bit of wear and tear as well. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Decal time. So I'm just going to very slowly put the decals on. I'll do the tower ones first, as they were the closest to the edge of the sheet. Oh dear, there's nothing like making life easy for yourself. Make sure it's ready to release. No, not yet. I've got the wax burner on because it's a lot easier to release them from the paper. I mentioned it in the previous build, but yeah, it's an absolute godsend. There we go. Slides off really nicely. Where's me got it? There they are. Oh dear. That was very cat-handed. Oh dearie me. Right, let's get that positioned. Well, that is a lovely fit. Airfix really have upped their game with everything. That's really good. Let's get a clean cotton bud and then get that roll into position, just to get all the air out and make sure it sits nicely against all the levels of the model. You may notice I've not put the control mast on or the wheel on or anything else at the moment. The main reason being that I will knock them off before I've done this. So I leave them till last. It's the last bits I fit on any build because I just tend to knock them off. The Dornier itself is missing a part. Until it's on the diorama, I won't put it on because I know what I'll do. I'll knock it off. And I don't want to undo all my hard work, so that is just, no, not going to happen. So anyway, I'll carry on with these decals, decals, transfers, stickers, whatever. And then we'll see what it looks like. Some of the decals dry, still got some more to go, but I always take my time with those. Misplaced finger and a decal comes off, so I'll let them cure and I'll carry on. Anyway, I'm going to be putting the propeller together. So what I do is it's a shaft that would be inside the model normally. I put onto there, and then I take my cutters This is only if you're fitting the motor, by the way. And cut that bit off there like that. Get a suitable filing implement and file that as flat as possible. Like that. You've got a nice square face to go up against the model. It also gives you something to drill into for the motor shaft in the model as well. A little bit of glue, and drop the propeller into place. Like that. Take note of the way it goes round. I've done it wrong before. Once it's together wrong, you're never getting that apart. Push that together, and then there's enough excess glue for me to just drop that nose cone in once I've just taken these little bits of sprue stuff off. Now I have already painted it black, but I will be doing it again. I just paint these little tiny bits on the sprue first because I find it easier. Because of my large fingers, it's easier to paint it on the sprue and then just touch up. Decals are on. All I've got to do now is fit the last little tiny bits. The undercarriage is ready to go on, letting it dry. So just a bit of weathering now. Now I've noticed at air shows and such that the exhaust fumes are more white than they are black. So I'm going to use some of this, if I can open it. And what I've also noticed is that the exhaust fumes follow the shape of the aircraft. It's not straight. So it's almost as if the air is the slipstream pulling the exhaust tube. So I'm not going to do too much. Oh, that probably is too much actually. If I can't brush that off. There you go. And what I'm going to do is afterwards is I'll hit it with a little bit of black as well, just to give it a bit more. There we go. Just from there, I'll follow the wing like that. Like that. It's probably a bit too much on there, but ho hum. So there's those two bits done. Now I'm going to do a bit of black. Just to try and darken that excessive amount of white I put on there. Oh, that's alright, that's good. That's making it look a bit better. And I'll do the same that side. Oh, crikey. If I could stop being cack-handed, it would really help. There we go. Okay, that's not too bad. I was a bit over the top with the white, I must admit, but ho hum. There we go, exhaust done. Now for the guns. So underneath here, where the shells are ejected, that is going to be all black. Like that. And then this side, not that anyone's going to see it because it'll be at the back of the board, but I like to know it's there. So just darken that as well. So there's your ejected shell marks. And then of course on top of the wing as well. just to darken that a little bit. There we go. Do the same with the other set. Oh, cripes. This is why I don't put the little bits on, because I know I'll break them doing this sort of thing. There we go. Let's darken that a little bit. Now there's one other thing that I do for decals, and that is Poundland makeup, or 25p. I think they're too bright, so I get some of this eyeshadow stuff. If I can open the box, there we go, and I give them a little bit of a shading colour with this, just to take the shine off it, because I think they're way too bright. So it just dumbs it down a bit, like that. Just takes the shine off it. Very gently, just put it on there. Little side letters as well. Otherwise they sort of glare, and I don't want them glaring. Besides which, remember, this is a Battle of Britain aircraft, so it would have been used 4 or 5 times a day, day after day after day, for about 2 months. So it's going to be dirty. Well, I think actually on the Airfix box it says it was a Battle of France aeroplane, but whatever. For the purposes of my hobby, this is a Battle of Britain plane. I'm just going to do a bit more on there. That's it. And on this one. Otherwise they just shine, and I don't like it. So also on the aluminium, just to dumb that down a little bit. There we go. I'll just do this side. Much better. I also find it brings out the panel lines a bit more. So I don't use panel wash or anything like that, because I don't see panel lines that massive at air shows. Just don't see it. So there you go. Let's dumb that down a bit. Yeah, so I'm just going to fit the small parts to the propeller, and I reckon it'll be the final reveal. Well, the Hurricane's finished, but not quite as I intended. I was transporting it from one bench to another and I dropped it. And I managed to bend the motor shaft for the motor that drives the prop. So in doing so I tried to straighten it and it snapped. So the model's finished, just that my intended spinning prop isn't going to happen now. It is what it is. No build is perfect. I'm quite pleased the way the Hurricane turned out. It's just a shame it's not going to be fully spinnable, whirring away behind the Dornier. It is what it is. So anyway, it's nice to show that I'm human, I suppose. We all make mistakes, we all have errors, we all have fumble fingers every now and then. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the build, despite the anticlimactic end. And if you haven't already, please like the video, please subscribe. I'm really not always this bad, and I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.